This is Mac OS Ken.
Apple sticks the $4 trillion landing, increased positivity ahead of Apple earnings, and Apple spends bigger lobbying the EU. It is Thursday, the 30th of October, 2025. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by NordLayer. Secure your network, block threats to your business, and save 10% with code MacOSKen-10 at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Second time's a charm, I guess. Just a day after popping in and out, Apple on Wednesday was back in the $4 trillion market cap club, and this time it stuck around. Ticker symbol AAPL ended the day up a scant 70 cents, closing at $269.70. That was enough to drag it across the 4 trillion line. The Cupertino company ended the day with a market cap of $4.002 trillion. I know I keep referring to the term halo of positivity, which turned up in a note earlier this week from JP Morgan analyst Samik Chatterjee. Here's the thing, though. That term is on the money. Excitement over sales of iPhone 17, excitement over performance of Apple's services segment. Everywhere you look, somebody's got something upbeat to say about Apple. Or they're just raising their price target on it. Chatterjee did it earlier this week. Wells Fargo did it earlier this week. Now guess what BofA is doing? Apple 3.0 ran part of a deep dive from Bank of America on Wednesday. Seriously deep, looking out over the next 5 years deep. Weighing projected product and services revenues as well as new products and services that the company may introduce. BofA's 5-year examination says Apple's ecosystem, its brand, and its large installed base remains a competitive advantage. And they are leaning into it. Bank of America has a buy rating on Apple shares. The firm used Wednesday's note to raise its price target on the shares from $270 to $320. Want more Apple positivity? A week or two ago, notes about iPhone Air centered on what a disappointment that thing was. Just last week, Cult of Mac ran a piece saying Apple's latest attempt to make a fourth iPhone variant is bombing and that Apple should drop the whole idea. Then came a piece from CNET taking issue with talk of battery weakness for iPhone Air. Now CNBC has a piece under the headline, Apple's iPhone Air doesn't look like a bestseller. It might not matter. The piece is full of gloom, despair, and agony around Apple's wafer-thin communicator. Flirting with the Cult of Mac take, the report points out that since it went with a 4-phone lineup in 2020, Apple has struggled with the fourth phone sales, which have lagged behind the basic iPhone and Pro models. I guess what they want is for Apple to sell the exact same number of every iPhone. I'm pretty sure I've done this before, but let's try it this way. iPhone 17 is a basic sedan. iPhone 17 Pro is a tricked-out SUV. iPhone 17 Pro Max is a heavy-duty pickup with a back seat, towing capacity, a Hemi, and whatever the hell else big trucks have. iPhone Air is a sports car. More expensive than a sedan, less expensive than a giant pickup. Doesn't necessarily put form over function, but it's never going to tow a car. But do we say that sporty models from Ford or GM are failures because they don't sell as many as family cars or pickups? That's not the CNBC take, that's just mine. CNBC actually hit the idea that I landed on the anticipated iPhone foldable a couple of weeks ago. I had said that a foldable iPhone might solve problems for Apple. The company might learn a lot about new manufacturing methods, subsidized by people willing to pay a premium for an iPhone they can fold up. CNBC thinks Apple may be doing that already with the Air, citing analysts who say the device could be a building block toward a more diverse lineup that could include a folding iPhone. Its thin design resembles what half of a folding iPhone would look like, according to tech critics, and the fact that the iPhone Air doesn't have a number suggests it might not get annual updates anyway. Well, the first one never has a number, does it? And names and numbers aside, CNBC says if Apple's other iPhones are seeing surging sales, it might not matter to investors if the Air is lagging, especially if new designs at least keep the lineup feeling fresh. That is a lot of positivity heading into today's earnings call, from which a lot of positivity is anticipated. Apple 3.0 has run expectations from both Wall Street firms and independent analysts. The pros are expecting Q4 revenue to come in at $102.5 billion, up 7.6% from the same quarter a year ago, and earnings per share of $1.78. The Indies are feeling even more bullish. They're looking for revenue of $104.4 billion, up 10% year-on-year, and EPS of $1.87. And now, pencils down while we wait for the results. Apple's fourth quarter fiscal year 2025 earnings are set for today, Thursday, the 30th of October. Numbers will drop via press release after the close of trading, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. Then at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern, Apple execs will do the earnings call, listening to questions from financial analysts and saying whatever they want to say regardless of the question. You can hear it live as that happens on Apple's site. It'll be made available as a podcast a few hours later. And of course, I'll recap what I can right here tomorrow. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. NordLayer is based on zero trust, meaning access is only granted to the right users under the right conditions. While it's built to be safe, it's also built to be simple. There's no complex setup and no new hardware. NordLayer works as a security platform across all of your existing platforms. That's Windows, macOS, iOS, Android, Linux, whatever you got. From small shops to teams of 50 or more, you can add users, features, or servers in just a few clicks, starting as low as $8 per user per month. Quick deployment, step-by-step onboarding, 24/7 support. NordLayer stands ready to guard your business. Strengthen your protection today. Get 22% off NordLayer yearly plans, plus another 10% savings with coupon code MacOSKen-10 at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. Keep your workers working safely and guard against outside threats with NordLayer. Get up to 22% off yearly plans plus 10% off with coupon code MacOSKen-10 at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. Apple has almost doubled its lobbying spend in the EU over the last 4 years. Mac Rumors cites the latest data from Corporate Europe Observatory. Indications there are that Apple now allocates roughly 7 million euros, about $8.2 million US, annually to influence European regulation. The piece says Apple previously disclosed spending between 3.5 million euros and 3.75 million per year in 2021, revealing a near doubling of declared expenditure within 4 years. Not to burst anybody's bubble, but I don't think that money's doing what they want it to do. If you're in or around Sydney, New South Wales, Australia today, you could be among the first to experience Apple's latest store. Mac rumors and Apple site say Apple Chatswood Chase is reopening today. Folks nearby may have thought that this day would never come. The location closed for renovation in July of 2024. When it reopens, the piece says it will feature an all-new design and updated amenities, including an Apple pickup station for customers to collect orders placed through Apple's online store. All of that starts today, or actually probably started today by the time you hear this. The store was set to reopen at 9:30 a.m. local time. And finally today, news that sounded odd to me at first. Apple Insider ran a piece Wednesday that had Apple joining the advisory group of the Game Awards. According to the report, the Game Awards are the industry's equivalent of the Oscars for interactive entertainment. The org is advised by many major companies in the field, according to Apple Insider. Now, when I think of Apple and video games, failure is what comes to mind. From the short-lived console that was Apple's Pippin to the yearly piece about how whatever year it happens to be is the year for the Mac and games, they never seem to catch. Thankfully, Apple Insider didn't let me get far before pointing out that the App Store is a dominant force in the world's gaming market, which does make Apple's inclusion make sense. Apple joins a list of companies one would expect to find advising the Game Awards. They include Activision, AMD, Epic Games, EA, Kojima Productions, Microsoft, Nintendo, Riot, Rockstar, Sony, Tencent, Ubisoft, and Valve. Interestingly, they seem to have little or nothing to do with individual awards. Apple Insider says, though occupying a space on the board, Apple will not have an influence on the selection of award nominees or winners of the annual awards. Rather, the advisory board is meant to help guide and advance the mission of the Game Awards. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Nord Layer. Get 10% off with code macOSKen-10 at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSKen at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macOSKen.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
It's still sunny.